What is our second main topic today?
This email comes to us from Eric Carmen. Eric says, I sometimes don't understand James Cameron. Great start. The guy is a great filmmaker, no arguments from me, but he also suffers from severe foot and mouth disease. He's either attacking fan favorite comic book movies or now he's directly attacking fans who don't like their movies being too long. He was just quoted in an Empire interview saying he's tired of people whining about long movies. So obviously he's making Avatar too long and it preemptively preemptively attacking any fans who would be critical of it. What do you think of Cameron's comments?
Well, of course, what you left out of there is when he specifically said, when James Cameron was quoted as saying, "I'm so tired of Ray Aura."
Yeah.
Complaining about, James Cameron was clearly making the statement directly at Ray Aura. He's been tired of seeing Ray talking about the long films of this. Look, here's the thing. So yes, James Cameron, one of the most successful filmmaker alive. Sure. I think it's fair to say that. Mm-hmm. Right, 2 of the top 3 all-time grossing box office films, including number 1, are James Cameron films. I think the greatest action film of all time, True Lies, James Cameron film. One of the most celebrated, some people think the greatest sci-fi film of all time, Terminator, James Cameron film. We can just keep going. That's what James Cameron does. But sometimes James says stupid things. He does. He wades into things that he doesn't need to wade into, and he says things that he does not need to say. Even when you really think about it, they're not all that bad what he said. Just the fact that he said them was inadvisable. We won't recover all the stuff they said about comic book movies because he obviously has a very good relationship with the Russo brothers. He praises the Russo brothers all the time. But still. So now he comes out and he says this. This comes to us from an interview with James Cameron. He said, this is his comment, all right? I love that image, Ray. I'm looking at this image for the first time. Okay, so I don't want anybody whining about the length when they sit and binge watch television for 8 hours. I can almost write this part of the review. The agonizingly long 3-hour movie. It's like, give me a fucking break. I've watched my kids sit down and do 5 one-hour episodes in a row. All right. A couple of things to take away from this. I think we just got our runtime of Avatar 2. I think we just got handed our runtime of Avatar 2, which is probably going to clock in close to 3 hours. And that's fine. But the one thing I would say to Cameron is this. There are times that I will complain about the length of a film, but it's never about the clock. When critics, or at least most critics, and when folks like me complain about the length of a film. For instance, I love The Batman. It's my second favorite film of the year, but it needed 15 minutes shaved out of it. That's not because the clock says it was this runtime. No. It's not about the clock. It's about, did the length match the story? Did the story require that long or that short of a runtime? It's never about the clock. We've all seen 3-hour movies that we feel like just fly by and we were dying for more when it ended. We've all seen 90-minute movies, so it's like, oh, that was perfect. Like it was bang on the money. It was a great runtime for it, right? It's not about the clock. It's about, does the movie you have, does the story and narrative structure you have require a 2.5-hour movie to tell it properly, or a 3-hour, or whatever? For some movies, an hour and 45 minutes might be too long. For some movies, a 2.5-hour might be too short. That's what people are complaining about. Also, let me address one of the other obvious things. When he talks about, I want to hear complaining about 3-hour movies and people binge like 8 episodes. Okay, yes. But when people binge 8 episodes at home, they never hit play and then don't move until the final episode's end credits roll. That never happens. They get up, they check their email, they go make something to eat, they go to the bathroom, they go, play with their own feet. Hey, no judgment from me. They go and they answer the phone, they go do other things, they write an email or two. So that's great to say, oh, people binge watch all the time. Again, it's not about the clock. But for some people, like maybe even somebody in this room, sitting just straight in one chair for 3 hours can be a daunting task for some people. Hell, even me, I like long movies, but the idea of sitting down for 3 hours. And you know you're going to miss a part of it. Like James Cameron also says in this interview, listen, guys, just go pee. Don't worry about it. Just, if you got to go to the bathroom, just go up and go to the bathroom. Okay, that's fine to say as the guy who made the movie. When you've been planning to go see a movie and you're excited about a movie, you got a babysitter for the night, you drove out to the theater, you bought your tickets, you got your popcorn, went in, got your seat, blah, sit down. The notion of, I have to now miss 3 minutes of this film, and I don't know what's going to happen in the 3 minutes that I'm going to miss. Run P is a really good app, but still.
That's why I always get 2 cups when I order a drink.
That's why Jonathan Voico is a strategist. I mean, that's easy to say, but at the same time. And then, of course, there's a practical thing that, Rob, you've often pointed out. A 3-hour movie means fewer show times and things like that. So there's some practical stuff like that. But again, what I would say to James Cameron is this. Nobody is complaining because of the clock. They're just complaining a lot of times that a movie was too long for what it needed to be. And there was a movie I saw recently that I just said that. It's like, man, that was just too long.
Elvis.
Oh, Elvis. Yeah. I really like the Elvis film. I really do. But it really was too long for what it was. Because after a certain point, it just started to feel dragged out and fatiguing. And it would have felt a lot better if they had sliced a bunch of it out. But again, that had nothing to do with the clock. It has to do, do you have the right runtime for your movie? Anyway, Amy, you hear James Cameron, who sometimes can say he's a great filmmaker. He's one of my favorites, but he sometimes says very stupid things. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped is more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. What do you think about his comments about, not wanting to hear people whine about the runtime?
I mean, far be it from me to tell James Cameron how to sell a movie, but I feel like coming out and immediately going, people are going to call this agonizing is like not selling me on Avatar 2.
Not a good
It's
plan.
not great. Also telling me it's exactly like you were saying. And I was thinking the same thing when I read this, just that it's like, I've seen 3-hour movies that fill that 3 hours. I've seen a lot of 3-hour movies. And if you're already telling me, well, just go take a pee break. It's like, well, your movie shouldn't have moments where I'm going, I could sneak out now for 3 minutes. It just shouldn't. And to me, it just feels like such a fundamental, not only the fact that, yeah, if I'm binging a show, I'm getting up, I'm taking breaks, but just what I'm expecting a TV show, the story, the arc of it's just different. It's bigger. You're not going to cram the entire last season of Stranger Things into a movie, or it wouldn't have worked, So I think it's just, it's a weird thing to come out swinging about. And ultimately, if he makes a 3-hour movie where all 3 hours of that feel necessary and earned, then he's not going to have a problem. But if he makes a 3-hour movie that would have been a much tighter, 2-hour and 20-minute movie, then yeah, you're gonna have complaints.
I often point to Peter Jackson's King Kong because King Kong was a 3-hour movie that honestly, if you had cut the first hour out of the film, and I've gone back and I've done experiments with this where with the thing is like, if you just started that movie when they're on the boat approaching Skull Island and you give 5 minutes of dialogue explaining where each of the characters are coming from, you have a much closer to 2-hour, much tighter, less filler, all thriller, much better movie. Again, the problem wasn't 3 hours. The problem was there was an hour in there that simply didn't need to be
Just
there.
wasn't 3 hours of story to tell.
Exactly. Rob, you see James's comments here. We're all looking forward to Avatar very much.
Yeah.
But what do you make of his comments?
Well, I think, look, from a filmmaking perspective, I don't think he was attacking the fans. First of all, I think
But he's got to be aware that it can come across that way.
well, I think what he was talking about is so often nowadays, especially with our reduced attention spans across the board. I always hear, I keep thinking about Jeffrey Jones's character in Amadeus. When he says to Amadeus, he's like, too many notes. And Amadeus is like, which notes would you like me to remove, Your Highness, or whatever. And I think a lot of the time, there are movies like The Godfather, don't feel it. I don't feel the length. The Right Stuff, which is a 3 hour and 15-minute movie, don't feel
Lord of the
Rings.
Rings.
Lord of the Rings, and even Return of the King, the director's got 4 hours long. I mean, some people, that's a good example. It ended too many times. And I'm like, but I think from a filmmaking perspective, I think there's a lot of people that just throw out the idea that it was too long. There's legit. I think the thing about Elvis is legitimately because of the editorial style, it can feel pummeling after a while. Like it gets to the point where you're literally the imagery is so fast and furious that it's like, stop hitting me in the face. So you're exhausted when you that's legit. But I think there's just a lot of times when people are like, hey, it was too long. And I think that's what James Cameron's responding to. And I think he's taking it a little personally. I think he's responding like, yo, dude, I mean, the fact is, people are like, did Titanic have to be, 3 hours long? Did the director's cut of Avatar have to be that long? And I would be like, yeah, I think Titanic was perfect length.
And I don't feel like I heard anyone saying that about, and it's like, what are you?
Not the time, no.
No.
Yeah.
And
Especially when they kept going back to see it over and over
And it feels like he's
over again.
complaining about a thing that nobody's
I think
said yet.
it came to me, if I felt like he was complaining about other people's movies, other movies that he likes, where are being criticized for being too long, not necessarily his films. Because, I mean, The Abyss is long, but the director's cut of that movie is better than the theatrical cut, I think. And then Titanic is long, and Avatar's long, too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, the John Campea Show would like to present to you the counterpoint to James Cameron. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ray Ora.
Look, I just want to point out, like, as much as I don't like 3 hour movies, we're all content creators in some way, right? Like, Amy, Rob, Jonathan, like, there's like elements that all of us go through, and it's how you feel about your work and how you feel about the people that you're presenting your work to. John, when you're behind the mic, your thing is you want to be 100 with everybody and you don't care about what it does with your relationships to the movie studios, because that's your belief. And in an extension, you feel that's what your audience deserves, is for you to always be honest with them. With me, like when we were at Collider and I had 3 shows the next day, it was like, oh, do I just put out whatever? Or do I take my time on everything? And my main point was, I don't want to watch a show and look at something and not be proud of it. I'd rather lose sleep than know I half-assed something.
Right.
Same thing with James Cameron. It doesn't matter if your audience is 3, 1,000, or enough to make $1 billion for this next movie. He could have went on his track record, put out Avatar 2 already, made that money.
Yeah.
But he took 10 years. He's studying water. If he feels that 3.5 hours is what he wants to show and he's proud of it, then of course, like if someone says, oh yeah, it's just too long, and you spend all that time on doing something that you're proud of, you're gonna get mad. Like when someone, if I spend a long time on a graphic and there's one comment that says, oh man, the eyes are a little off. Of course I'm gonna be like, oh man, you don't know, you know what I mean? It's just, I understand why this is 3 hours. Obviously he feels that he needs to bring out a 3 hour movie because that's what he wants to do. Like, I mean, he could have easily just put out whatever he wanted because of what he's done in the past. He's not taking advantage of that. Same thing with me. I could put whatever I want and people will still watch this show. It's not like someone told me, like, some of the stuff I do only goes up for a second. Why you spend so much time on it? And it's because it just makes me feel better because I feel I owe it to you, to the audience. You know what I mean? It just, I'd rather have that feeling in me than to feel like I wasted people's time.
So, Ray, are you pledging then you're going to stay awake through the entirety of Avatar?
No pee break. No.
With water? Where he wins, actually, because 3.5 hours, My attention span is like 45 minutes to an hour. I'm all in on a movie for sure. I'm guaranteeing that. So that would be like 3 tickets for me. So
I'm disappointed.
Here's one thing though. I agree with everything you said, but to a point that Amy was bringing up, why complain about a complaint that hasn't happened yet? Nobody yet has commented on the length of Avatar. So why preemptively come out and say, I don't want to hear any of you writing about this thing?
It's like cooking a dinner and going, oh,
right.
don't tell me it's too salty. It's like, well, now I'm
Yes,
looking for that.
Yes. Okay, so here's this dinner. By the way, I don't want to hear one complaint that it's too salty. It's like, well, now I'm expecting it to be too salty.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
I'm just waiting for all the troll reviews. They're just going to quote them.
Yeah, everybody's going to say, this is agonizingly long. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of James Cameron's comment saying he doesn't want to hear any whining about the length of his film? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.